Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I am your host, Napasa Pradhan, and thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today. Before we go ahead with today's topic, I have this very important disclaimer, and that is by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. Once again, friends, very warm welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. And I hope that you are very ready for this webinar we are going to have today. And it's definitely a very exciting and a very important discussion lined up for you. And especially for all those folks out there who are exploring and closely following US immigration policies. So, yes, with the new administration set to take charge in 2025, there are lots of questions, expectations, and even speculations about what changes might come into immigration laws. And today we are going to dive into this topic, immigration in 2025, what changes to expect under the new administration. And to help us understand, through all these political changes, we have a very special guest, a regular with us every Wednesday. She joins us at 12 p.m. EST, and she's none other than our esteemed immigration attorney who's been guiding businesses and individuals through complexities of US immigration for years. And please help me welcome her. Hello, Attorney Prashanthi Reddy. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really wonderful to have you back on our show.
Hello. Hi, Nipasa. It's great to be back.
Really good to have you. Yes, folks out there are also very excited, and we are streaming live right now on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and friends. You can also be a part of this conversation. All you have to do is comment whatever questions you have with regard to the question to today's topic of discussion, and that is immigration in 2025. So please feel free to participate, and maybe Prashanti, what can folks expect from this webinar today?
Well, I get, since the election results are out and we know that the Trump administration will be in the White House next year, we're basically going to be talking about what measures the administration is likely to take with reference to immigration.
Yes, we're going to talk about this very. We are going to explore this topic, and feel free to comment. Let me just tell you that you should also not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Like and share whoever is going to resonate with this information. Please feel free to share this link with them so that they can also join us. And don't forget to subscribe to us. You can hit the bell icon and be notified whenever we have discussions like these. So, Prashanti, without further ado, I have this first question. I mean, given that Tom Homan's appointment as the US immigration czar, what potential changes or challenges do you foresee in the current immigration policies, particularly with regard to enforcement and border security?
So, Homan led ICE, which is the enforcement body of USCIS. They do all the enforcements, they catch all the bad guys, stop people from, detain people at the border, etc., etc. So he led the enforcement wing, ICE, in the Trump government, in the Trump administration when Trump was president, in his last term, and he was there for 18 months. So that's basically his background, and he's also been in ICE and USCIS for many years, so he does have a lot of experience. And he was in the Obama administration as well. And for folks of you who don't know, the highest enforcement or deportations or removals took place under the Obama administration, and then under the Trump administration. So he helped the Obama administration, or with reference to all the removals that removals that took place, deportations that took place, and he has repeatedly defended deportation efforts, and he basically thinks that it's something that has to be done because it's something that is the law and it has to be enforced. And he believes in a zero tolerance policy. And so there's no room for humanitarian grounds, etc. He has repeatedly said that it is Trump's plan to, uh, deport large number of undocumented immigrants during the second term. Trump has often spoken about mass deportations, and Homan has been his spokesperson, and now he actually has a role in doing that. So he also intends, he has said, to restart the workplace arrests as one strategy and to carry out a humane but necessary mass deportation operation. I don't know how a mass deportation operation can be humane. I think that's very difficult, but yeah, so he's going to start workplace arrests, meaning he's going to go into businesses and look into, who's legal. If they get any tips that they're illegal immigrants working at a certain workplace, then he's going to go there and arrest them and fine the employers. So that's what workplace arrests means. Um, he said when asked about how 11 million, so there are 11 million illegal immigrants, and when he was asked how it's possible to deport 11 million, he basically said the plan would operate under a worst first policy, which means that they would first focus on criminals and people who are a national security threat, and they will be deported first ahead of the other immigrants. Uh, as I said, Homan is best known for his role in a zero tolerance, having a zero tolerance immigration policy. Um, and he intends to immediately prosecute anyone found crossing the border illegally. And he was really in charge of detaining parents uh, separately and separating the children from the parents and detaining the children in a different detention center while the parents were put in a different detention center. And under his watch, uh, so thousands of children were taken from their parents under that controversial policy. Until towards the end of his term, Trump signed an executive order because he was getting so much bad press. Um, he signed an executive order ending, family separation. But Homan has continued to defend the practice, and he has said, as per reporting that in 2018, he said that this is no different from American children being separated from their parents who commit crimes. Um, but really, we know that is not true because the children are not detained when the parents are commit a crime, right? If a parent is a criminal, the children are put into foster care or given to their relatives. They're not put into separate jail cells, which is what was done to children with reference who came illegally with their parents. So the children were punished along with the parents. Um, so um, the good thing for Trump is that Homan does not have to go through any confirmation process through the Senate because this immigration czar, the title that they've given him is kind of a title which is not formal. It's an informal title. So he does not have to go through any formal confirmation process. So it's easier for Trump to appoint him and appoint other people like him in informal positions. But though they're informal positions, they have a lot of power, the power of, equivalent to his cabinet because they have Trump's ear and they decide the policy and Trump will follow, right? So
Mhm.
we still don't know who the Secretary of Homeland Security will be. We have to wait and see, but he will definitely have to be confirmed by the Senate because that's a formal post. Homan has also said that he will uh, go after sanctuary cities
Right.
and
He has it.
revoked. Yeah, and he said he'll go after sanctuary cities and revoke their federal funding. Um, and he's been so sanctuary cities such as New York, for example, where they don't believe in the same immigration policies that the federal government may believe in. And under Trump's term, they pretty much protested. They were so he wants law enforcement to be involved with immigration enforcement, and law enforcement is a state subject. So what the federal government will try to do, and which and they did this last term as well, is try to force the state governments to comply and use local law enforcement. And the way they make them comply is, they won't give them federal benefits, money that they get from the federal government if they don't comply, right?
Hmm.
And they might sue them, also file lawsuits against them, et cetera, et cetera, if they don't comply with providing them with the proper resources that they need to deport 11 million people, because they can't unless the states agree. And with reference to I guess they will start with the states that agree. So I'm sure they're going to start with Texas when it comes to large scale immigration enforcement, especially deporting illegal immigrants. I'm sure they'll
Hmm.
start with Texas and then, go to the other states if they start it at all.
But
Another
it's
key
going to be very
factor is
expensive
Homan.
also to deport everyone. I mean,
Yeah, that's what they want to do. How much they are able to do is a different story. It is a nightmare, logistical nightmare, because
just
they can't just put people into flights. First thing is the expense of flights of carrying 11 million people out of the country. Second is they
not
can't
realistic.
just people put people into flights. They have to put them into detention centers first. And where are they going to find detention centers for 11 million people?
Hmm.
So that's another thing.
Just
So it's a logistic nightmare. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen to the extent that he says it'll happen. I doubt it, because it's not possible, even though he wants to do it.
mhm. Right.
So Homan was also part of a contributor to that nefarious Project 2025 policy document,
Project
which
2025.
was
Right.
prepared, correct, yeah, which was prepared like with by hard right, policy people, and he was part of contributed with reference to immigration, at least with in that Project 2025. Um, but the Trump administration during the campaign tried to distance themselves from it. But now that they have full mandate from the people, they may not have to distance themselves anymore. So that's a little bit about, Homan and what you can expect under him and what his background is.
Absolutely. I mean, we also did, in fact, cover this a little bit yesterday on our 4 p.m. show, which we just recently started. I and my co-host Sam, we do it every day at 4 p.m. It's called Daily Immigration Dose. So, folks, stay tuned for that too later today. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for highlighting Tom Homan and what we can expect in 2025. And at this moment, I'll just like to say hi to our viewers. Shikha, thank you so much for joining. And even Rag. Rag says, hello, Prashanti and Nipasa. With the USCIS context, yes, Christy Neom is the DHS head. Any idea on her background? Prashanti, do you have
And
anything to say?
yeah, I haven't looked into it as yet, because this was very, very recent, as you know. But we'll get
Yes,
back to it later and I'll do some research on it.
great. So, yes, Trump picks Christy Neom as the Homeland Security Secretary and the governor of South Dakota she is. So we will try to cover more details on this for sure. Stay
Right,
tuned to
right.
Immigration and Jobs
She's
Talk Show for that.
From what I read, she's Republican and she's hardline. Um,
Yes.
and I don't think she's had experience previously with USCIS, so they are appointing people without any prior experience
Mhm.
in the field, which is unusual. But Trump is basically trying to gather people who are, loyal to him, and that's the most important criteria: loyalty rather than experience in the field that they're managing.
Right. But we can definitely expect her to also play a major role. Rag, thank you for your question. And
Of course,
we just have
absolutely.
to look out, yes, we just have to look out how can they achieve what they have been promising with regard to border and deport millions of people out there. So let's keep our eyes open for that. Thank you, Rag. And then we also have Dia joining, and we will take up your questions. Just stay with us. All right, Prashanti, now moving on, I have this second question for you, and that is given the current challenges are at the southern border, how might the new administration approach the enforcement of border security in 2025, with and particularly regarding the use of the Title 42 or potential new asylum restrictions? Anything you want to add on to what we just spoke just now?
Yeah, so Title 42, just to give you a background, was used during COVID-19 and during the Trump's
Yes.
previous term,
First.
and it was removed by Biden in as late as May 2023. So it was used by Biden also. And this is basically a section of the U.S. Code that's very vaguely and broadly written, and it's a very old code, 1944, started in 1944. And basically, it says that it's a law allowing limits at border crossings for public health reasons. So earlier, with reference to immigration, when people used to come to Ellis Island, and in the 1940s, 30s, and before that, they would be quarantined if they had some kind of health issues, especially if they're communicable health issues. They would be quarantined at Ellis Island. So it's a very archaic law, because in those days there was vaccinations and medications, and medicine was not as advanced. So they would basically quarantine people who had a fever, or for a few days until they got better, and then they would release them out and allow them to, enter the shores of the US. So it's kind of that kind of a law. And during the pandemic, Trump administration interpreted this as, allowing immediate expulsion of undocumented migrants to the US-Mexico border. So as soon as they came in, they said because of COVID-19, it's too high of a risk, so we're not allowing people in. So they didn't allow anyone to seek asylum. All asylum was almost non-existent at the borders, and they were so they even if they had if they even if there was some uh, likely threat to their life, and even if they were high-profile political activists, for example, or human rights activists, they would not be allowed into the country and given political asylum. And Biden administration also kept this, as I said, Title 42, and it's continued to be used to expel people or to not allow them into the country. About 2.8 million people. It's been used for 2.8 million people to allow them not to come into the country or seek asylum. Um, so I think 50% of the people who came at the border they were able to expel them quickly, usually back into Mexico, because they can't put them on a flight, so they just send them back from the Mexico border back into Mexico by using this Title 42. In 2023 January, that gave way to a new system under the Biden administration, in which a limited number of especially vulnerable migrants would be allowed to, about 700 a day, would be allowed to seek, make appointments for asylum. And this was via an app. So that Title 42 was replaced by this, but asylum is still at the border is still very, very limited to, a limited number of people. So that's what Title 42 is about.
Thank you so much, Prashanti, for giving us for telling us what Title 42 is and for highlighting the major restrictions and problems that we could face maybe in 2025.
So, Nipasa, I also wanted to add, since I only talked about what Title 42 did
Yes.
previously and what it is. What to expect in the future from Title 42? Um, I don't expect Title 42 to be brought back. Maybe it will be as an easy way of expelling people. It made more sense when they brought it back during COVID-19, because this is specifically for health-based reasons. Only for health-based reasons can people be restricted. So I don't
Mhm.
know what its use can be now that COVID-19 is not an issue anymore worldwide. and how they're going to use it. I mean, it's a good way of using using it to restrict everyone if they can, but most likely it'll be then challenged in court, because if they use it not for health reasons but for other reasons, then that's not a proper use of Title 42, right? So maybe they'll
Right.
come up with another law which, like Biden's administration did, to restrict
Or
asylum.
maybe
So the whole
Agenda
thing is
47. Yeah.
right. So they might come up with other rules, or make up rules as they go, to restrict asylum, and restrict people from applying for asylum. So that's what Title 42 was used for in the past.
Right. I think what we can expect is we are going to face maybe more scrutiny. Maybe they are going to tighten it more, and who knows? Trump will try to, make immigrants deport themselves, make it so impossible for them also to be able to live in U.S. I mean, freely and nicely. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up. And I would like to say hi to Dati. Dati is on your channel, a comment on your channel, Prashanti, saying, "Hello, I'm a permanent resident for 10 years, and my green card will be expired in 2027. Should I be worried?"
No, if you're a permanent resident, there's really not much they can do unless you commit a crime. Then they can take away your permanent residency. But otherwise, I don't think you need to be worried. I mean, Trump can only do certain things through executive orders, but he can't change the fundamentals of the law unless he passes the law through the Senate and the House. And I don't think he intends to pass any law that affects permanent residents. Who knows? But I don't think so. He has other things to worry about.
Right, right. That is for sure. So, folks, thank you so much for commenting, and we are going to get back to your questions for sure. But now, Prashanti, I have another question, and with the recent surge in applications for H-1B and other employment-based visas, how can the new administration adjust policies to better manage the backlog and even ensure timely processing for highly skilled workers?
Well, I don't know why the administration would even bother, or even care about improving processing times, or caring about the benefits part of legal immigration also, because last term they didn't. Is there something that's different in this term? I don't know. But if they want to, I mean, there are a lot of key strategies that they can use. They can increase the H-1B cap to start off with. Is that going to happen? I doubt it. Um, but I'll be more than happy if they do take my suggestions and do it, or take the suggestions of other experts, right? And do it. But I mean, some key strategies that they could do if they have the intent to help legal immigration and to help businesses. The Republican Party has always been known to be a business friendly party. Trump, people think, is business friendly. So if that is so, then he should be increasing the H-1B visa cap straight away. That will help the economy, and will allow more skilled workers to be admitted, reducing the potentially reducing the backlog.
Backlogs for sure, yes.
So um, improve the H-1B registration process that they have right now, um, and try to, if not increasing the cap, then at least prioritizing high skilled workers, or workers who meet the national interests, by allowing them a better chance of getting picked in the cap, since there's only 30% chance of getting picked. Um, Prioritizing again critical skill sets, high demand fields like STEM, allocating maybe more um, H-1B numbers to people like that. And of course, technology upgrades at USCIS will always help. So invest, the government, USCIS has to invest in advanced data analysis and processing systems,
Mhm.
to expedite applications, so that applications can be reviewed, through AI, for example. At least preliminary review can be done through AI, and that will reduce the burden on on people having to do it. They can also streamline the process by simplifying the forms. They make the forms more and more complicated, increasing the number of pages of the forms as time goes by instead of simplifying it. So
Hmm.
simplifying the forms can help officers then review these forms quickly, or even AI can review the forms quickly and give a decision, and lead to a more efficient process. Of course, increased staffing at USCIS, unless they fill up all their empty slots and increase the number of officers that are doing this, that will obviously reduce the backlog. Expedited processing options, basically, they have to be able to expedite processing, or have an avenue of expediting processing for some critical time sensitive cases, or cases that are within the national interest. So they have premium processing right now. It's a lot of money. Maybe they can have, expedited processing for other cases based on merit, um, also. So also merit-based allocation within the cap. The cap is limited, so maybe they can come up with factors such as education experience, type of job offer, type of industry that they're working in, rather than a pure lottery system that might bring more H1s to industries that need it, such as healthcare, etc. People in research. Transparency helps by regularly publishing processing times, having accurately publishing processing times, really, um, so that they can USCIS can be held more accountable by the Congress, um, and doing proper data analysis. This will help, obviously, figuring out where there is need for more money, and where there is need for more time to be spent, or more officers can be deployed in those areas. Ensure that H1Bs, addressing potential concerns about job displacement. So that's what the whole politics about the H1B is about, and why no one is doing anything to improve H1Bs or extend the quota, because you have to do proper research into who are these H1B people displacing, if any. Are they displacing any American workers? Where are they working, displacing those American workers? Where is their need, where there are not enough American workers available? So maybe they can have increase the H1B numbers, and have some kind of advertisement process, right, for those increased numbers, so that the concerns about job displacement then are not there anymore. Of course, fraud prevention is a big part of implementing the H1B process, to make sure that it's run properly and successfully, so that people who actually deserve it get the H1, and undeserving candidates are not don't take up the H1B numbers. Another key thing is collaborating with your stakeholders, collaborating with industry, with employers, with professional organizations, and see where they are having problems, and try to improve based on their feedback given by them. Because, as I said, USCIS is a benefits driven organization. They give benefits. It's not ICE where they're where they're doling out punishments. So it's important to to collaborate with the people that are giving you the money to run USCIS. That's the USCIS fees, and who pays that fees, right? The people that you're offering the benefits to. So it's important to collaborate with them. I think these are some of the ways that you can reduce backlog and improve efficiency. And they know, I mean, it's not like USCIS doesn't know this. Um, but yeah, that's a few of the ways that they can do that.
Right. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for highlighting that. And at this moment, I would say hi to Vihar. Thank you for joining us on YouTube. He's asking any views on the future of H4EAD, Prashanti.
Yeah, H4EAD will definitely be impacted, is my thinking, because under the previous administration also there was a lawsuit filed, and it was pending. And then when the Biden administration came in, they basically withdrew the lawsuit, um, and so nothing happened. But there has been a lot of negative press about H4EADs, um, and basically because they think that, again, the H4EADs are taking away jobs, like any other immigration, work-based immigration. And they have now a way of removing it because the H4EAD is not part of any regulation, any part of the Immigration and Nationality Act. So they can take it to court and say that it's nowhere in the Immigration and Nationality Act does it say that H4s can be given work authorization, and this is an overreaching use of the executive orders, right? Because it's
Hmm. Hmm.
unconstitutional. So they can definitely say that, and then we have to wait and see how the courts weigh in and who, they will obviously file a lawsuit in a district which is more Republican friendly. So the courts will be,
Hmm.
more friendly towards restrictive immigration policies. So yeah, H4EADs are definitely going to be, I mean, are insecure at this point from next year onwards.
Okay. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up. And Vihar, thank you for your question. I hope you got your answer. Now, Prashanti, I have my next question, but I think we will take this Dia's question. This is also on YouTube, asking, we are in the middle of applying for a green card through my spouse, who is a US citizen. If the new administration changes family based immigration policies, could that impact the timeline or process of our application? And should we consider re expediting anything? Or expediting
I mean,
anything, sorry.
you can't really expedite a family-based petition. The only thing you can do is file as soon as possible. And that is general advice to everyone out there with reference to if they're filing anything immigration related, you would
Mhm.
rather file it under this administration than have it filed under the next administration. Yes, we don't know whether they will implement changes starting from day one or they'll take a year to implement it, 6 months to implement it. What the effect of it will be? Will it face scrutiny from the courts? Will it finally, will it finally be approved or not? All that we don't know, but there's a lot of uncertainty, that's for sure, that we do know.
Mhm.
And not uncertainty in a good way. It's not going to be a positive overall effect for immigration. It's going to be more
Mhm.
restrictive. So if you have to file anything, I would file it now rather than filing it next year. If you can expedite something, expedite it. But unfortunately, family-based cases cannot be expedited. But just to give you an idea as to what Trump has said in the past and what he has said
Mhm.
in his campaign and what his policy is with reference to family immigration. He does not like family immigration. He wants to restrict family immigration because he thinks it's how people come in, they apply for their family people, then the family people apply for family people. It's kind of like chain immigration and it doesn't help the economy in any way. Uh, because often these people are not necessarily um, employment based green card. He is not helping employment based green card either, if that is his view, because these people
Mhm.
actually have jobs, right? So if he's thinking that one thing is bad for the economy, then he has to do something that is good for the economy, but he is not doing either. Anyway, family based, that's why he's not for family based immigration. He says he's for merit based immigration. So he wants to replace all family based immigration with a merit based rule like they have in Canada. So you have certain points, number of points for certain things that are in your favor. Maybe if you have an immediate relative, you get 1 point. If you have a job, you get 1 point, etc., etc. So we have to wait and see if that is even possible because that has to go through Congress. That's not something he
Yes.
can do through an executive order. But that's what
Mhm.
he intends to do. But even if he's not able to completely remove family based immigration, he can definitely curtail it very easily just by increasing the backlogs. By taking 3 years to approve a family based case, it's as good as
Mhm.
taking away the benefit from you, and he can do that very easily. In addition to that, he can also start expand the public charge law, which he did last term, by the way, it it was challenged in courts, etc., etc. Under this, he said that anybody who has the potential of becoming a public charge, so taking any kind of welfare, taking food stamps, so anyone who doesn't have a job, so if you have an old parent who doesn't have a job, and is not likely to be employed, he can say that the public law, he can expand the public law charge law to include them because they have the potential of, then take being on Medicare. So, you know, something to think of. If you have a
Yes.
spouse who's a homemaker and doesn't have a job, they can be considered to be a public charge if you expand the public charge law in the way that he intends it to be expanded. So, I mean, you're basically reducing the family based immigration by 75% just by doing that.
Right, Prashanti. Thank you so much for taking that up for Dia. Thank you, Dia, for participating with your question. And at this moment, I would like to take this question from Durga. This is from your channel, Prashanti. And Durga is asking, what would be an impact on perm and employment-based green card?
Uh, so perms, yes, good question actually. With reference to perms, so with when we come to immigration policy, that involves not just USCIS or Department of Homeland Security, it involves other agencies also, and all the instructions with reference to how to go about things uh, come from the top, right? They come uh, from the border patrol czar or from other policy making people at who have the year of Trump or from Trump, and they send out policy to all agencies, including Department of Labor, U.S. Department of State with reference to visas, the immigration courts, right? Department of Justice, EOIR. So all the agencies are affected by if there is a policy of restricting immigration. So if they send out instructions to the Department of Labor that is responsible for approving perms, then you will see that first of all, perm processing time will take longer. Second, there will be more supervised audits. Every second case will be audited, which is what happened also in the previous administration. So if it's audited, then the processing time doubles, and they can make it much more difficult. They can say that everybody has to go through supervised recruitment, which means that all the resumes, instead of coming to the employer and the employer looking at it and deciding if there are any qualified resumes, now the resume process will be supervised by the Department of Labor. So all the resumes will go to the Department of Labor. The Labor Department will send it to the employer, and then the Labor Department will decide if the employer has actually used has disqualified someone properly or they haven't. And if they think that a resume was disqualified for improper reasons, then they can deny the entire perm. So this not only decreases the number of perm approvals, decreases the approval rate for perm, but also really increases the processing time. The whole reason why perm was implemented over the old process, and why the whole labor department process perm labor cert was um, automated by using this online system, and why they have honorary system, meaning you're not sending any documentations upfront, you're only sending if there's an audit. Um, the reason why they have this is to expedite the labor cert processing. So, that could definitely increase the processing time. They might do away with the burn process and go back to the other process, or just increase, the number of audits. So let's see what happens. That's with reference to impact on perm, and that impacts employment based, right? Because that is employment based. With reference
Mhm.
to 485s, employment based I-140 approvals, you can see that most probably they'll go back. I-140s, there'll be more RFEs. Right now, most I-140s get approved. RFE denial rate is very low. The only thing they look at is the ability to pay, and they look at it. If you're already paying the employee that much, or if you have the ability to pay from your tax return, you can show that. So there's an established process right now, and everyone knows what the process is. And so before filing, they make sure that they follow that process and they qualify. And so a lot
Mhm.
of I-140s do get approved, and they also want to make sure that the beneficiary has the experience and the education based on the labor cert. that was filed, right?
Mhm.
So all that is very doable and it's very predictable. And, a good attorney can ensure that an I-140, gets approved. But under the Trump administration, like they did last time, they can bring in other new criteria for approval of I-140s. The last time they brought in right to control, employer-employee relationship, which was only in the H-1B domain. They brought it into the I-140 domain also. So
Mhm.
if you are a consulting company and you're filing for your employee, they want to make sure that you have the right to control the work of your employee when they're working at a third party site. So they brought that concept into the I-140 concept also, and then they denied cases based on that. So they can bring in new such RFEs and requests for further evidence, and deny cases on that basis as well. And they will most probably try to do that.
Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up for Durga on LinkedIn. Durga, thank you for participating. If you have any more questions, you can keep commenting.
And again,
We will take, yeah, sure.
the main again, our bottom line is try to file your petitions in premium processing sooner rather than later.
And premium processing definitely speeds up the process, so you might as well opt for that
Correct.
option.
Correct.
Thank
Because
you so
if your
much.
case is
And
still because if your case is still pending while if the new government comes in, they might make it retroactive to even pending cases. So you want to make sure that your case is approved.
right, right. Well, Durga is here to say very insightful thoughts. Thank you very much, Prashanti. So
You're
there you
welcome.
go. And Prashanti, I also had a few more questions on our Facebook. I think we can take a few if you do not mind me sharing the
Sure.
screen for
Sure.
now. So I have this first question, which is from an anonymous participant saying, "Hello, everyone. I entered the US with B1 visa, then I applied for asylum, then I got married, and my I-94 is expired. What should I do next? What form should I fill? Or I need to have a lawyer no matter what? Or I can fill it by myself? And now, how long does it take to get approval now? Please help."
I think we need more information. And since he's not a live participant, I don't think he can give us that information. But
Hmm.
he applied for asylum. We know that he came on a B1, so he entered legally. Got married to a US citizen. Who did you get married to? I mean, that makes a difference, right?
Right.
Um, if you are not married to a US citizen, there's not much you can do. You applied for asylum, wait for a response to come. If you're married to a US citizen, then you entered legally. You should close your asylum case, or file the I-130 and then go before the judge and adjust before the judge once your I-130 gets approved, and then close out the asylum case. That's what you should be doing.
Okay. Thank you, Prashanti, for addressing
A-
this question
And
on.
you definitely need an attorney, so it's too complicated for
Yes.
you to do it on your own.
Yes, and you can also contact Attorney Prashanti Reddy and you can have a one-on-one discussion for that. Her number is 212-354-1010, and you can even note down her email address, which is prashanti@reddyesq.com. And www.reddyesq.com is her website. Go visit to get to know more about Attorney Prashanti Reddy. Now, my next question, Prashanti, is also from an anonymous participant saying, "Hey, my boyfriend waited until way past the expiration date to try and renew his work authorization and DACA. Would applying for asylum be a good move? He came to the States when he was a baby and doesn't know any family from where he's from." Please.
Asylum is only based on certain criteria. That is, you were persecuted in your home country by the government or an organization that was as powerful as the government, on the basis of your political views or your religion or your sexual orientation. So it's only asylum is for a specific purpose. So simply because you're out of status and you came as a baby, you can't apply for asylum. So you have to meet the asylum criteria.
Okay. Well, we will take up more questions from our Facebook, but Durga is back with another question. I think we can address that since he's live with us. Can we have PERM filed in premium or any process to expedite PERM? He's asking.
Can we have perm filed in premium or any no, there's no premium processing for perm, unfortunately.
Okay. And Rag is also back with another question asking, will the L2 go the H4EAD way or L2 authorization to work by legal legislation? Sorry.
L2 is something that is not done by executive order. So it'll be harder to get rid of that.
Okay, Rag. I think you've got your answer. If you need more clarification or any questions, you can keep commenting. Now, moving on to my Facebook questions, I have this next question, and I think let's take this one up. Hello, I'm married 2 years ago abroad and petitioned for my now spouse and their two adolescent kids to come to the US. They now have their green card, arrived to the US 4 months ago, and now, unfortunately, they are needing to separate or divorce. Is the citizen spouse responsible for alimony and the division of assets such as home, etc.? If the divorce goes through, what happens to legal status of the now green card holders? And is an immigration attorney or family law attorney consulted for this sort of case? Yes, definitely. I would always suggest to consult an expert. But we have our expert here, and Prashanti, maybe you would like to maybe give out an advice, anything.
So I wouldn't advise on family law issues, but definitely with reference to the immigration issues, um, I can definitely advise you on that if you're a permanent resident already and you have the temporary permanent resident because, you've received you have not yet received the permanent card because for a, green card holder, you first receive a temporary card for 3 years and then after that you apply for removal of conditions. So if, as long as you show that the marriage was based on a bona fide marriage and you have to prove that, you can file for a waiver uh, of applying for a joint petition to remove conditions. What this means that is when you're removing conditions, you have to show that you're still married and you have to apply along with your spouse
Mhm.
to remove conditions and get a permanent green card. So if you're no longer married to your spouse, as long as you show that you had a bona fide marriage, and if you're able to show that, uh, uh, as long as you're able to show that it's a bona fide marriage, I think you can file for a waiver of
Okay.
the joint filing, and you can file yourself for removal of conditions. So you definitely need an attorney for this.
Yes, yes. And you can always contact Attorney Prashanti for ready for that as well. And now
Correct.
my next question is from another anonymous participant. Hey guys, I need help. So I put in paperwork for a U visa in 2014. No response since then. Did my fingerprints and everything. Is this the normal time frame for a U visa?
I don't know how long U visas are taking right now. I don't do a lot of U visas, but the best thing to do is go to the USCIS website and check out their processing times. They're usually accurate.
Yes.
I would go based on that, but I know U visas are taking a long time, a few
Yes, it's already a
years.
decade or wait.
But this is 10 years, so I don't know if that is. I
Yes.
don't think that is normal. I don't think it's normal.
Yes.
So I don't
I
know if
don't
you
think it
followed up
went
with
through the whole
USCIS.
yes.
I
Sorry?
don't know if you followed up with US. I was just saying I don't know whether this person has followed up with USCIS, but they definitely need to
Yes.
and find out what the issue is.
What? Yes, exactly. It's a decade already. I think high time to wake up on that at least. Thank you for commenting on this, Prashanti. Now, this is another question. Hello, my partner and I are both freshly 18. He lives in Canada and wants to move to America with me. He does not have a high school diploma. We are legitimately desperate to get him any sort of residence here. Though due to the circumstances, he is under back at home with his family. I'm looking for any support of help with our situation. Do you have any suggestions?
Again, we need more information because I don't know if this person is a US citizen or not. If they are a US citizen, then they can petition. If they are, first of all, you have to get married, so you have to be legal age to get married, and you have to be over 21 to petition for your spouse. So that is one way of doing it.
Hmm.
Not now,
There's
I
still
guess,
time
but
for,
later on.
yes,
Yeah.
because you're just 18. Right, right. Thank you, Prashanti, for addressing this. Now, my next is I need help. We came here as kids legally in 1987. My mom had an um, aneurysm, if I'm pronouncing it right, and died suddenly. My brother and sister needs to file for legal status. My father just became a citizen 3 years ago, finally. My sister and brother, after the death of my mother, had a mental breakdown. I'm trying to get them help at least to get their workers card to help themselves. How can they do that?
If your father is a US citizen, he should be able to sponsor for you. That's the best way of doing it. And you say you came here legally. So I would ask your father to file an I-130 petition for you and
Okay,
your siblings.
right. I think that should help them get some workers card at least. Yes. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking that up.
If your father is a US citizen, then you can file an I-130 and 485 together. If you're under 21, if you're over 21, then you can only just file an I-130. And that will not give you employment authorization because you have to wait for your priority date to become current, depending on which category you fall under, married, unmarried, over 21, under 21, right? So we need more
Mhm.
information for that. But you can look up the visa bulletin to see what category you fall under and what the visa bulletin says with reference to whether there's a availability of visa number for you or not. If there isn't availability, you can file a 485, and that will give you work authorization because you can file work authorization along with the 485.
Okay. Thank you, Prashanti, for taking that up. Now this is another one. If is Trump government will also affect old pending cases in USCIS? My marriage-based green card case is still pending after 2 interviews. I'm worried about that, and I can't sleep nowadays because of stress.
Sorry to hear that. I hope everything
So,
works out. But if you've had 2 interviews, maybe they're worried about that maybe it's a fraudulent marriage. And this, Trump or no Trump is always an issue, right? So I think you should just follow up on it.
mhm.
Whether Trump's government will, I mean, it could affect pending cases as well as new cases. So we just have to wait and see. But hopefully your case will get resolved before any new changes come.
Yes, and at least you get an update so that you feel little less anxious. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for taking this up. Um, Now I have my next question, and this is from our YouTube channel. Um, this is what do you have to say on this comment, Prashanti? Deport all illegal immigrants, come back with the proper legal process, and work on your American dream. Coming here illegally and becoming a criminal and hoping for an American dream is dead.
So why should you presume that anyone who comes here illegally becomes a criminal, right? You're saying everything in
Exactly.
one sentence. Um,
Exactly.
so this is the whole, I mean, in my opinion, and everyone can have their opinion, right? I mean, it's a free country. So in my opinion, just because someone comes here and becomes out of status, that doesn't mean that you cannot be sympathetic towards them. Doesn't mean that all of them are criminals. They are children, right?
Yes.
There are people who have come here maybe legally and due to circumstances beyond their control because the immigration process here sucks and it's really hard to continue to be legal because it's so difficult, right? They're so strict even with legal immigration that it's possible that you could fall out of status even though you've tried
Mhm.
not to, right? It's
Right.
possible that you come from Syria or some such country where your life is at risk, or some other country, right, where there is conflict. And there are many places in the world, in Africa and other continents where there is conflict. And you're coming and you're bringing your family and yourself and your children because your life is at risk. And you're coming
Right.
to a country which you're hoping will be safer for you, right? So again, a broad classification of all illegal immigrants being criminals doesn't help anyone.
For sure, for sure. Very good point to be noted. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for highlighting that. And now coming to another comment on our YouTube channel, saying Trump has to save USA from illegal immigration and Islam. Again, what do you have to say on this comment, Prashanti?
I think it's a lot. It's again, I don't agree with it. I don't think people should be uh, differentiated, or people should be discriminated against based on their religion or based on their political views or based on anything. Everybody has the right to have their own views on things.
Right.
Um, we're not talking about terrorists. Yes, we should be protected against terrorists of all religions.
Yes,
But to classify everybody from a particular religion as a terrorist and you need to protect against them, that doesn't make any sense to me.
true. To me too. Thank you, Prashanti, for addressing this. And I think I have another one, and this is also on our YouTube channel, saying the only reason Kamala Harris lost is because Democratic voters didn't bother to vote. She did all she could to raise awareness of the dangers of Trump, but it obviously landed on deaf ears. There's another bold comment.
I
And
mean,
what do you have to
I
say?
agree. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, it's quite obvious that that's
Yes,
what happened. Otherwise,
it
Democrats would
has
have won.
happened already.
Yeah.
Right.
And I mean, again, this is not immigration related, and we can talk for ages on what happened with the election. And it's a topic that is of interest to me, but maybe not to the viewers that much.
Thank you, Prashanti. Yes, for sure. Anyway, now I think let's take this last one. This is on Facebook from Carolina saying, hello, I'm planning to travel to the US, Texas, and it would be great to get some advice on obtaining a visa. So she's looking for a travel visa, I think. Could anyone share their experience of applying for a visa for at least 6 months for tourism or visiting friends? Do you need very strong reasons and supporting documents for a stay longer than 3 months? Or is it enough to show solid reasons to return after the planned visit? If anyone could share their stories, lessons, or tips, I would be very grateful. Thank you.
Um, depends on which country you're from. Getting a visitor's visa, um, unfortunately, makes is different in different consulates, because in some consulates they have a lot of volume, so they obviously cannot give. There's a lot of demand for visas, so they can't give everyone visas. But in general, they look at certain criteria. They look at whether you have the intention of immigrating to the US, whether you have strong family ties, and other financial ties, employment ties in your home country. So you do have to show that you have the intention to return and that you have something to return to. So if you have a full-time job, say, and you have leave only for a month or 2 months, then that's, and also your age also makes a difference. If you're younger, you're less likely to get a visitor's visa. If you're older, you're more likely to get a visitor's visa. So there are a lot of factors that the consulate looks into.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you so much, Prashanti, for highlighting that. And I'm sure that would be very helpful for Carolina to start off with, at least. So it was great today having you. And we actually took up so many questions. Prashanti, thank you so much for being so patient and for enthusiastically taking up each of our questions and answering to each of them in proper detail. So it was really lovely having you here today with us.
Thank you, and let's look forward to next week.
Yes, for sure. But before we go, do you have anything to wrap up with an end note today's webinar?
Um, Again, there's a lot of uncertainty and anxiety with reference to what will happen with immigration law. And, as attorneys, we're anxious as well. And I'm sure you are, as non-immigrants or people who are filing their immigration cases, you're even more anxious. But, thankfully, you have a good support system. There are a lot of very competent immigration attorneys that you can call and talk to if there are any questions
Mhm.
that you have. There's a lot of information online as well, that you can read about so that you're prepared on how to go about if you're an employer, how to go about filing for your employees, or if you're a beneficiary yourself, how to go about it. So keep yourself informed and make use of the support system around you.
For sure. Thank you so much, Prashanti, today. I mean, it was really great having you share all your valuable insights on what we might expect in 2025 under the new administration. So, once again, friends, if you in fact want to have a one on one consultation with Attorney Prashanthi Reddy, you might as well call her up. This is her number 212-354-1010. And you can even email her. Her email address is prashanthi@reddyesq.com. And go visit www.reddyesq.com to get to know more about Prashanthi Reddy and the law offices of Prashanthi Reddy. Thank you so much, Prashanthi, once again. I'll see you in the coming week. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
You too. Folks, thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. Thank you for all of your questions. Thank you for tuning in. And I hope that today's discussion has been helpful so far. And if you resonated, please do not forget to like, share, and of course, subscribe to our channel so that you'll be notified whenever we have discussions like these. And let me tell you, there's another very exciting thing happening right now, which is every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, me and my co host, Sam, we come in to talk everything immigration related, and it's called Daily Immigration Dose, and it's open for all. You can also come be a part of it, and maybe if you want to know more about it, you can contact me. My number is 408-335-6444. You can even email me. My email address is nipa@staffingly.com. And this number, by the way, is also my WhatsApp number. So if you want to know anything about Daily Immigration Dose, please feel free to contact me. And yes, this is it for now. Until next time, then stay informed and stay prepared for anything immigration related. This is Napasa saying bye for now. Thank you for joining in.